Good evening. As a member of rail staff fights for his life in hospital after a stabbing spree on a London-bound service, more details about the alleged attacker have been revealed. Hours before 10 people were stabbed on a train from Doncaster to London's King's Cross on Saturday, it's alleged that 32-year-old Anthony Williams attacked a man on the DLR at Pontoon Dock Station. He's been charged with 11 counts of attempted murder. Police have said 3 other knife-related incidents are also being investigated. With the latest, here's our correspondent, Simon Harris.
Stephen will need plastic surgery to save his fingers. On Saturday, he was heading home to Wimbledon from a football match when he tried to stop a man with a knife on a London-bound express.
And he said, "Do you want to die?" About 3 times he shouted. And so then I grabbed his arm, and I think that is when, like, my hand and stuff got caught up with the blade and stuff, because it's sharp, it's like a sword type of thing, you know.
Huntingdon Station was still a crime scene today. Police searched the track for clues after Saturday's mass stabbing. But as police charged a 32-year-old man, Anthony Williams, with 11 counts of attempted murder, it emerged one of the alleged victims wasn't attacked on the train, but more than 60 miles away in East London. Hours before the train stabbings, there was a knife attack on a DLR train as it approached Pontoon Dock Station. The police have disclosed only the barest of details, in part because Williams has now been charged. But what we have been told is that around 1:45 on Saturday morning, British Transport Police officers were alerted to reports of an attack on a DLR train. When they arrived here at Pontoon Dock, they found a victim with facial injuries. The alleged attacker had disappeared. Molly was on the DLR train and saw what happened next.
I actually watched one man swagger out of the station, again with the same sort of purposeful walk, and it took me a second to realise, but I realised that that was the man that had just been stabbing everybody. And he just sort of strode out of the station.
At King's Cross today, armed police were patrolling the station. This is where the LNER train should have ended its journey on Saturday night. More than 1 million people arrive in London by train on a normal weekday, many of them commuters. Some admitted they were nervous about the threat of a knife attack, even taking precautions.
I did today, yeah, sat next to the toilet just in case. I'm more wary, yeah, I'm more wary of other people around me.
I felt nervous today, first time on a train since I heard about it, so I was conscious of other people on the train.
I think it's a random attack and these things happen and you've just got to get on with it.
Anthony Williams was remanded in custody by magistrates until his next court appearance. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Now, Simon's live for us at King's Cross now. Simon, what's the government's response to the incident?
Ronke, the authorities were quick to rule out terrorism as a motive for the train stabbings, but this has nevertheless focused attention on how vulnerable train passengers might be, essentially trapped on a fast-moving vehicle, unable to open the locked doors, let alone get off, and perhaps the best chance of escape to lock themselves in the toilet. Well, in the Commons this afternoon, the Home Secretary had this to say.
I know that ideas have already been suggested about how policing should change in response to this event. Once the facts are known, we must examine what more might have been done to stop this horrific attack from ever occurring, and whether there are measures that we must now take to better protect the public on our streets and on our trains.
Push them in like that.
Perfect, thank you.
CCTV cameras at railway stations and facial recognition cameras, but almost certainly not airline-style X-rays, which are regarded as impractical on the railways. Ronke.
OK, Simon, thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. Samir Zatouni has been described as a hero by the police who responded to Saturday's knife attack on a train, by his bosses at the train company LNER and by his family. And today, a friend of Sam, speaking to ITV News London, used the same description but added that his bravery trying to protect passengers was typical of him. The 48-year-old is in hospital, critically unwell after the attack on a train heading to King's Cross. With the latest, here's our correspondent, Simon Harris.
Sam Zatouni is a familiar figure to regular rail passengers on the East Coast Main Line. On Saturday, the 48-year-old from South London put his own life in danger to save others. He was working on the 1825 from Doncaster to King's Cross when a man with a knife started attacking passengers. He was seriously injured as he tried to shield them. Ray, a retired musician, is a neighbour in Peckham.
I think the guy's a hero. I mean, he's saved God knows how many people from either death or serious injury. So, you know, what else can you say? The guy that is top behaviour.
And typical of him?
I would say very typical of him. As far as I know him, as well as I know him, I wouldn't put it past him. I'm shocked because obviously I'm worried about his health, but I'm amazed that he did what he did, but I'm also not surprised.
Mr Zatouni is being treated at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, where doctors say he's critically unwell but in a stable condition. Sam Zatouni is based at King's Cross, where he works on LNER trains as a customer experience host, serving passengers in the buffet car and in first class. Today, his bosses praised his bravery, while the police said he undoubtedly saved people's lives. David Horn, LNER's managing director, said in a moment of crisis, Sam did not hesitate as he stepped forward to protect those around him. His actions were incredibly brave and we are so proud of him and all of our colleagues who acted with such courage that evening.
There are some heroes out there who, if I don't think it was for them, we could be looking at more injuries, possibly even fatalities.
That was echoed by Sam Zatouni's family, who released a statement saying they were immensely proud of his courage and adding, "To us, he's always been a hero." Simon Harris, ITV News, Peckham.
OK, let's move on to some other news tonight. And the mayor is being criticised once again for his international travel. The twist this time is he's jetted off to a conference about the environment. So Sadiq Khan is in Brazil at a meeting with other mayors about climate change. The problem is getting there takes quite a few thousand air miles in itself. His opponents say no matter the subject, he should be here dealing with London's problems. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
The countdown to COP30 is on.
Sadiq Khan is sharing his trip to Rio on social media. He's in Brazil for a climate change conference organised by C40 Cities, the global alliance of mayors which he co-chairs.
It's a great honour to join you all in this magical city that is so rich in culture, creativity and beauty, and yes, the second greatest city in the world.
Sadiq Khan's overseas visits this year have taken him to Poland for the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. In March, he was in the south of France for a property convention. In June, he was in Paris for another mayor's meeting. Then Africa in July for a trade mission to Ghana, Nigeria and South Africa.
This is the 5th time this year, 12,000 miles there and back, so that he can tell us all how green we need to be.
Isn't it right the mayor should represent London on the international stage?
Isn't it right that the mayor should represent us? He should be actually dealing with the government at the moment to get as much money as he can for London, which he is not doing. That's his job.
Now, I know there's a legitimate criticism often of the amount of air miles that the mayor clocks up, but actually, if I'm being honest, I think this is one good example to get on a plane.
Sadiq Khan is travelling with what City Hall says is a small number of key senior staff. The trip's being paid for by Bloomberg Philanthropies, a company run by a former mayor of New York. In a statement defending the trip, Sadiq Khan's spokesperson said reaching London's climate goals is one of the mayor's top priorities. City Hall also pointed out Boris Johnson made twice as many overseas trips when he was mayor.
The mayor rightly is the mayor of London, which is a global city, and the mayor tackles global issues with partners. Only this year did the mayor bring partners from all around the world, from Bogota to Freetown to London this April to talk about violence against women and girls.
The mayor is expected to round off his trip to Rio at Prince William's Earthshot Awards ceremony. Simon Harris, ITV News, City Hall.
Good evening. With a hug for his girlfriend and a final cigarette out on the street, Billy Smith voluntarily returned to Wandsworth Prison today, 3 days after they mistakenly set him free. The seemingly relaxed moments outside the prison were filmed by ITV News. Still on the run, however, is Brahim Kaddour Sharif. The Algerian sex offender was in the process of being deported when he was let out of Wandsworth last month. Well, today we learned new details about his life in London. In a moment, the growing pressure on the government and David Lammy in particular. But first, here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Convicted prisoners facing a long stretch don't usually have anything to smile about. But Billy Smith had a grin on his face as he handed himself in at Wandsworth Prison. Perhaps it was the knowledge he'd enjoyed 3 extra days of freedom after a court blunder sent him home instead of to his cell. Today, the convicted fraudster from Woking decided to give himself up, although even that didn't seem to be straightforward. But while Smith was surrendering, a manhunt was still going on for another runaway. Brahim Kadur Sherif, a convicted flasher, was mistakenly freed last Wednesday, but police were only told on Tuesday. Not surprisingly, people living near the South London jail are unhappy.
It's outrageous, isn't it? I mean, how can that happen? You would have thought they'd be more careful than that.
It's alarming. I've got 2 teenage daughters and I've been wondering whether I need to speak to them about keeping an eye out.
I feel like if they are kind of released around here, they probably wouldn't stay around here. So, I mean, it is a bit worrying.
Before his release, Kadur Sherif was due to be deported. Last year, he was convicted of indecent exposure in Walthamstow's Lloyd Park, although he was in prison serving a sentence for another offence. He was a familiar figure in coffee shops and barbers run by members of the local Algerian community in nearby Hoe Street. I spoke to one cafe owner here, Ali. He didn't want to go in front of our camera, but he said he knew Kadur Sherif by sight and described him as a troublemaker. Rules about prisoner releases were supposed to be tighter after Hadish Kabatu, an asylum seeker who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl in Epping, was mistakenly freed from a jail in Essex last month.
What we have seen now is an explosion in accidental prisoner releases, many of them foreign criminals, many of them sex offenders. This should not be happening.
We had 800 errors under the last government. This has now gone on for a generation. Our prison system is in crisis. So we have to bear down on this, but we have a mountain to climb.
Back in Wandsworth, Billy Smith didn't appear to be in a hurry, and neither did the prison. There was time for a cigarette before the start of his sentence. And then, inexplicably, after going in, he appeared outside again, escorted by 2 prison warders to the bottom of the steps before an about turn and back inside. This time, presumably, for the cell door to be well and truly slammed shut. Simon Harris, ITV News, Wandsworth.
Let's go back to Simon now. Simon, growing pressure on the government clearly, and David Lammy in particular.
Yes, I think it's fair to say David Lammy won't look back with unbridled joy on his first appearance standing in for Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's questions yesterday. He's facing flack for what he did and didn't say, for not wearing a poppy, and even over his suit. He was repeatedly questioned about whether he knew of any other asylum seekers who'd been released in error since Hadish Kabatu. Now, while it appears that Mr Lammy was aware of at least one of the errors at Wandsworth, he didn't say so. And that's led to opposition politicians accusing him of dodging the question at best and not being straight with Parliament at worst. Now, Mr Lammy, for his part, says he wasn't equipped with all the facts and he didn't want to give a misleading answer. But I'm not sure he helped himself either by suggesting that shortly before his appearance at the dispatch box, he was out buying a new suit to impress his godmother, who was in the public gallery. That may or may not have been a joke, but it certainly fell flat. And clearly what Mr Lammy needs most is for Ibrahim Kadur Sherif to be caught PDQ.
OK, Simon, thank you.